You got your popcorn out?
Well, if you stand up and run around, I bet it'll come back on.
This is a company of automation. They automated it.
That was the
Send
time
bigger,
I thought that
presentation.
Well, you can all take a nap too. I mean,
we're good.
so go ahead, Justin.
That's what the minions are for.
All right, so my name is Justin Findlay. I let's see, what year is it? 2015. In 2013, I dropped out of graduate school. I was doing physics. I wanted to do theoretical high energy astrophysics and particle phenomenology. I took a lot of hard classes in graduate school. It was fun, but the environment was too toxic for me. I didn't really like it. I actually never passed the physics, or I didn't pass the common exam, and I had to do all these exceptions. I was getting upset about it. Around the same time, I heard about this thing called Salt Stack, and they had a meeting, and I went to it. Then I decided that's where I was going to work. Took me a couple of years though, but now I'm here, and it seems like forever ago. Tom asked me to go. Oh, ice cream. I like vanilla ice cream, and then I like to scoop some frozen juice concentrate into it, and then slice some bananas into it. That's my favorite kind of ice cream. Anyway, much earlier this year, Tom took me to lunch. He's like, "We got a special project for you." I was trying to tell him about the free group, trying to talk about how cool it was. It's like, yeah, whatever. How about you do this cryptography thing? So that's what got me started on this crypto stuff. Of course, I've always been sort of interested in it. I don't really like doing presentations, but I like the teaching and learning experience. So I'm not a great presenter, but I really enjoy being part of it. So that's what motivates me. What motivates me in particular with cryptography is I think we don't know enough about it. The digital world is changing rapidly, and the only thing most people know about cryptography is that it's difficult. You have to do it right, and if you do it wrong, then you might as well have not done it. So all of those things are probably true, but I also feel like we need to just generally learn about cryptography in order to make it, it's sort of a statistical thing. If more people know about it, the more general knowledge there is. And it's actually not that complex. It's probably not much more complex than traditional or ordinary programming. You approach a problem and you think you have a solution that's closed, has a nice, elegant, closed form solution. But then when you finally implement it, there are all kinds of ugly corner cases. I think that's true of science in general.
Especially like when you said that more people should learn it, then you can get into like ethical issues, like better understand like ethical issues with like NSA and other companies spying on you. And
right, there's a lot of.
Did you guys hear about Wall did it? Got shut down.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting, as you say, ethical and political things there. But I find the subject fascinating all by itself. So I'm going to sort of take it from that point. All right. This is my outline. Can you guys see that? Is that big enough? I don't know about GNOME and them taking all the configs away. How do I increase the font on here?
Control-Shift+, I think.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. No, whatever. I found it.
Okay.
Unless it doesn't want you to.
Is that good? Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is well, this is my excuse, I guess. I've been very busy the past few months, and I or months or so, and I wasn't able to put in as much time in this presentation as I was hoping to do. So you get a look at my raw text source code instead of a nice Beamer presentation. Hopefully that counts for authenticity or something. Okay, so first of all, elliptic curves. This is what is known as the Weierstrass form of the elliptic curve. So an elliptic curve is, there's nothing mysterious or occult about it. It's this. You have, it's a plane curve, you have two variables, you have two parameters. So y squared equals x cubed plus ax plus b. So a and b are parameters. And the important thing for a lot of purposes, including elliptic curve cryptography, is what is known as the discriminant. Capital delta equals that thing is not zero. The discriminant of the equation is not zero. So how many of you know about the exponential function? E to the x. Remember?
From college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That was his age, wasn't it?
so the x, okay, well, I'll just say this really briefly then. The exponential function is cool because, well, it's the complex exponential function. So you have e to the ix plus y. If y is 0, you have the imaginary component. And that is all of trigonometry right there in that single function. If x is 0, it's e to the y, that's all of hyperbolic geometry. So you have them both together, that's that entire subfield of mathematics. And also, it's useful because pretty much all solutions to partial differential equations are written in terms of exponential functions. You have weirdo functions like beta functions and gamma functions, but they're all related to the exponential. And then you have the natural log, and the two of them together are central to integral and differential calculus. So what I'm trying to say is that's a cool function, very, very important. Probably the second most important function in mathematics is this one. It's not really a function, it's a functional equation. It's an equation whose solution is a function rather than a set. But anyway, I'll go over that later. I think it's really exciting.
AX?
Huh? No, this function. Y squared equals x cubed plus ax plus b. That is with that discriminant, that is the Weierstrass elliptic curve. So I think it's really exciting, despite what I might sound like. It's a very you can really get lost studying this kind of stuff and not return years later. So elliptic curve cryptography. So you have an elliptic curve. For example, I'm just going to go to Wikipedia. Let's look at this one. So here I have a is -1 and b is 1. That's an elliptic curve. That's the solution to the equation. We're cheating by solving the equation by putting in specific parameters. But generally, that's what you do with elliptic curves. Study specific families of curves. Okay, so maybe this is too high of a level. I don't know where the light's on. This really is kind of faking now. You don't have to worry about it. I don't know.
I don't have over the line.
Oh, all right. Okay. So now I'm going to talk briefly about a field. A field is a mathematical structure. So let's think about the integers. Okay, we have okay, f is the set of all integers. Okay, does that make sense? We're just conceptualizing all integers in this letter. And then we have three generic elements, a, b, and c in f. So under addition, a field is closed such that a plus if A and B are in F, so is A plus B. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, there's an identity element we call 0, such that if you add it to A, wait, no, this was supposed to be equals A. Sorry about that. There's an inverse element such that minus A plus A is the identity. There is associativity, A plus B plus C is equal to B plus C plus A. And commutativity, A plus B equals B plus A. Then we have the same properties for multiplication. There's a unit that's 1. And we have associativity, commutativity. We have closure. We have a unit. And then the final property is that we have distributivity, which is multiplication distributes over addition. So A times B plus C equals A times B plus A times C. So this is basic elementary algebra.
One that we probably all haven't touched in 10 years.
Right.
Because it's great.
So, okay, so a finite field. So think of a clock. Is this broadcasting on?
It is.
Internet? So I should probably not write on the board.
You can write on the board.
Okay, I want to write on the board. Okay, think of a clock. And
This is what they miss out for not being here.
I like 5, so we're going to do 5. I'm going to have to divide it in 5 pieces. Imagine those are equal to symbols. All right. So 5, that's the identity, right? Clock is 5 hours. So you can add 1 plus 2. Let's do something interesting. 3 plus 4 is what?
Well, it's not 7.
It is 7, but
Right,
it's a modulo
it's
5.
12, essentially, 1 and 2. Because it would be 1, 5 plus 2 more.
It's 2.
Oh, you're doing modulo math?
1,
Okay.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, I was thinking you was doing something else.
Yeah.
I thought you were doing,
modular.
I didn't realize you were doing modulo math, sorry.
Okay, so that's the finite field. It's important that the ordinal of the field be a prime number, and I won't go into why. So just think of the clock. So the elements of the finite field over which the elliptic curve is defined are points on the curve. So let's look at a picture. Maybe. Okay. So let's look at this animation here. Can you guys see that? Is that big enough?
Mhm.
So these points are just coordinates in the plane, x, y. You can think of A as x sub A, y sub A. If you add these points together, you get, so here's A, B, and C and 0. You can add them.
Excuse me.
Elliptic curves have a nice property such that this happens. So that sort of just illustrates how to add points. The important thing is another important property is scalar multiplication. Let's see, where am I in my notes? Okay. So I think elliptic curves are really exciting and interesting. Very, very magnificently elegant. There's a lot of enigma there. There's a lot of unsolved problems. One of them happens to be coherent, and upon that is what elliptic curve cryptography is based. One of these problems. I guess I mentioned earlier. So Riemann zeta function. probably wrote this in a way too arcane of a level. The Riemann zeta function has to do with the distribution of prime numbers or something really like that. It's very, very famous problem. Fermat's last theorem, that may be more recognizable. Has anyone heard of Fermat's last theorem?
Yes.
Did you know that it was solved in 1995?
No.
Do you know how it was solved? I'll give you a hint. It had to do with elliptic curves. So Fermat's last theorem is...
Was it his last theorem and then he died?
No, it's his last theorem because it was the last one to be proved. In fact, it took over 360 years to be proved.
Oh, this is really simple. Yeah, the solutions, and it worked. Except nobody knows.
Yeah, Fermat's solution did not involve elliptic curves.
Oh, that Matt Damon could have solved it.
Yeah, so Fermat's idea was
Because he made oxygen.
he was interested in number theory. This is a wholly number theoretic thing. He's thinking about the Pythagorean equation, and he's wondered, this is a Diophantine equation that's been around since probably Diophantine himself. X to the n plus y to the n equals e to the n. Are there any integers x, y, z such that that equation is true? And the answer is there is not. Sorry for the spoiler. This thing is
Stop Googling.
this thing is a huge thing. I don't even get into it. Maybe I'll say something about the Langland's program. Okay, there's this guy, early 19th century, this French kid. He was 15 when he first started learning about mathematics. And he died when he was 20 in sort of dubious circumstances. The night before his death, when he was going to die, he scribbled down everything that he had thought about on a single piece of paper, and it took some dedicated mathematician 60 years to fully decrypt everything that he had written down.
How old was he?
He was 20. And
So you're not old enough yet.
Next year.
No, I was like, why am I not that smart?
You might be, you just don't know it yet.
he's sketched out the beginning of something that was very, very powerful. So basically the idea of Galois theory is who's heard of the quadratic equation? Well, so
Actually, I've heard of that one.
so you know there's a closed form solution, and it's been known since not quite antiquity, but like Pythagorean era.
Since not quite antiquity.
I
What,
would
isn't
think
that-
Pythagoras qualifies as an
Okay, whatever. It's been known for a while. The general solution. Coincidentally, algebra comes from Arabic word, which means algebra, which means false positioning. And that word is directly related to the quadratic formula. So then, several hundred years later, someone figured out the general solution to the cubic equation. It is ugly. It is atrociously ugly. Then there's a general solution to the quartic equation, which was found within a couple years after that. So people were working on the quintic equation and higher for a long time. And the spoiler here is that there is no general solution. However, if you want to find specific solutions, you construct them using Galois theory or Galois groups. So Langland's program is a very, very deep idea, relating Galois groups to something that's completely in the other realm of mathematics. This is algebra. This is geometry, like topology. Forms are like these structures that have incredibly high symmetries and have a lot of really chimerical properties. Representation theory, I probably shouldn't even put this on here, but this is something that in order to describe, well, the definition uses a lot of really, I guess I should say domain-specific terminology. In order to understand what this is, you have to spend many hours reading the document to start to get a basic comprehension. But anyway, very deep connections between algebra and geometry. It all goes back to elliptic curves. And that idea, having this analytic smooth curve that goes around in the plane, is related to finite fields, Galois fields. Lee theory, whatever, go into that. The A-Dells are, well, there was a BYU professor in 2002 who submitted a proof for the Riemann zeta, the Riemann conjecture using the A-Dells. It was interesting. You guys might think that's boring, and that's okay. Okay, cryptography.
I have a question, real quick.
Sure.
You guys want to make more pizza?
Go
I'm
ahead.
actually like really hungry, so.
Yeah, go ahead. Go eat whatever you need.
Just don't eat it, it has to be one.
What?
Okay,
This is awesome.
the last thing that's interesting about elliptic curves is the discrete logarithm problem. So, so G is a group. A group is half of the field. So, if you take all of these properties, so if you consider F to be the integers, it's also a group, just under those highlighted ones. So think about that. So G is a group, and B and G are elements in the group, like 1 and 2, whatever. K is an integer. Well, for our purposes, B and G are elements of the finite field, or that the elliptic curve is defined over. So the discrete logarithm problem is that if you know B and G, can you find K in polynomial time? And no one knows. If you can, then this whole elliptic curve cryptography thing is not really useful anymore.
So until such time that someone finds a solution to that,
Yeah.
we're safe, if you will.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so what is it used for? You said it won't be useful anymore, but what is it useful for now? What do we,
Okay.
did we
So that's a good question. So I guess I'll just compare it to like RSA encryption, which is also based on Galois theory in a way. Elliptic curve cryptography has an advantage because you can get the same level of security with smaller key sizes, basically. So there's more obfuscation in this discrete logarithm problem than the problem the problem of finding prime factors. Is that how RSA works? Tom, do you remember?
RSA works that way.
It's the prime factor thing.
So I'm not that smart, but
I'm not either.
okay. When you brought up that one where you talk about we're actually good until they find out a solution to this problem.
Yeah.
What exactly was that?
What do you mean? Well, no one knows.
It hasn't
There
been
may
solved
not-
yet.
So we don't know either way if there's a polynomial time solution to the discrete logarithm problem.
What do you mean by like, is there like, how would finding a solution to that? You know what I'm saying?
That
Well,
this means is there an algorithm that can find K knowing B and G in a reasonable amount of time with an ordinary computer? You might be talking about a supercomputer with 1,000 CPUs, but I mean it's the scale of this. Well, I don't really want to get into polynomial time, but
Oh, I was
Yeah,
confused,
so-
but, yeah.
I think the argument is basically there's a simple way. If there was a simple way to solve this thing, we wouldn't be able to use it for encryption or cryptography.
Right.
Is what he's getting to.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of math behind this that's really incredible, and you'd have to spend hours and hours and hours
what would be really awesome is
figuring it out.
if we could prove this, there is no polynomial time solution.
Then you can
we could
continue
be
to use it forever.
We could be safer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there are still some attacks using novel computing techniques like quantum computing, and you know that this idea has to be implemented, and there are known attack vectors, as things like that, making it easier. Okay, so sort of leading into the next area, which is cryptography. Okay.
No question.
Yeah.
Would any kind of like cryptography, would any of that ever stand up against if quantum computers did become like possible?
It really depends on the computational power of quantum computing. So if quantum computing scales, then there's really nothing you can do with these classical encryption mechanisms. They're all going to be broken somehow or other.
Or would you have encryption mechanisms that could withstand the brute force?
I believe there are. I don't really know anything about this.
Yeah.
I barely know anything
So-
about this.
I don't know, so it's a dumb question.
And
No,
a number of researchers have claimed to find quantum computing safe algorithms, but they're yet.
They have to prove that, yeah. I was like,
Yeah, it's but a research team at Microsoft earlier this year published a paper describing quantum computing safe encryption. But again, it can't be proved because we don't have quantum
Yeah,
computers.
I would totally argue
Quantum
that
computing
that's
safe-
bogus until somebody can prove that they can do it, or at least they can sufficiently
So-
say that we can prove it over a period of time, and we need much more time than we've currently been able
Right.
to say.
Right, and it has more emphasis based on what Justin's saying. The whole point of the encryption is that we just happen to not know an algorithm that can figure it out. And so if
There
you
might
come
be
out with,
one.
there might be an algorithm. And so if we come out with encryption and say this is safe, well, there might be an algorithm that we just haven't found yet. It's going to be safe for a very long time.
That's my hypothesis.
For us to know that it's a
You
valid.
can't prove that it's safe because, well, guess what? It's possible there could be an algorithm out there that we don't know about yet. So
Exactly.
too bad we're not trusting that.
And there's a very good chance, there is, I would call a reasonable chance that there are algorithms out there that certain people do know about. That may work in a building out the hill.
Or
Yeah.
possibly in Russia.
Yeah, or possibly in Russia.
I wouldn't trust the Daleks either.
Yeah, cool, it's over, man.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so cryptography. There's a lot of subtopics in cryptography. Well, not a lot. I've listed most of them here. So hashing. Who's familiar with hashing? Give me like okay, David.
It's basically getting a large amount of data and getting it into a small useful pieces. For example, you've got C or C there.
Right.
And it can safely do to about 10 to 12 bits before it starts having clashes. And that's why I would say CRC32 is useful on things like
Right.
internet packets.
Right.
The reason to ensure that the data that's will match the cyclic redundancy check, so that there hasn't been bit flip during transmission.
Right. So a hash is a computational convenience to assure that your data has integrity. And what that means is, as exactly as David said, you can take an arbitrarily large file and take a hash of it.
Is that kind of central to Git?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Git uses
Git uses hashes.
Yes.
It's kind of central to like,
Everything.
It's running a stream of
Yeah.
bits
Yeah.
to a polynomial function to generate kind of like a remainder.
So you can sort of consider the routines to do that as to be like cryptographic.
Have you worked with
Cryptographic.
MD5 hashes or SHA-512 hashes?
I know somewhat about them, but.
So they're all in that same class that he's talking about. Basically, it's a verification algorithm, if you will. Like you basically send the file across the wire and you verify that the hash
Oh, yeah, yeah,
matches, right?
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so that's what he's explaining.
Okay, so the second idea is a key. So that is kind of like so you have an algorithm that does encryption for you, and there are some parameters that you can manipulate with that. One of them has a special purpose, the key, which means Well, you plug in the key and it encrypts something or decrypts something for you. You need to know what the key is in order to get the specific value out that you want. Okay, and then encrypting. So there's symmetric encryption, which means that for simplicity, you can talk about two parties. Both parties share the same key. So obviously the downside of that is the key has to be exchanged through a trusted means, like you write it down on a piece of paper and hand it to them, or something like that. So yeah, there.
Or you have to or you have to get it somehow into Evo and
The advantage of symmetric
rocket.
The advantage of symmetric keys is that they're fast. They're generally faster than asymmetric. Or symmetric encryption is faster. So if you can in a trusted manner, send an encrypted symmetric key, then you can do that. But
So it's safe as long as it doesn't get stuck in transit.
as long as it's not intercepted
Yeah.
by an untrusted party. So asymmetric key is, you have two keys. You have a private key and a public key. The private key you keep to yourself. You only use it to decrypt incoming messages. A public key you use to encrypt outgoing messages. And then signing, I decided not to talk about that. That's how bad my presentation sucks.
Your presentation's fine. It's pretty entertaining.
Justin, you're fantastic.
All right, so let's run through a simple encryption scheme. Wait, what is your computer doing to me?
It's no much over the top of the
Oh, yeah, it's that would be probably.
Okay, import OS. That's pretty straightforward, and I'll do that.
Sorry.
I know, I
Yes,
say no.
God, you're gonna kill me.
I doubt it. Those
You
little
could've
bends
put on-
that sit in your garden that are crazy.
Well, I originally wrote this in Python 3. That dot encode will turn it into a bytes string instead of a normal string, but this is Python 2, and hopefully you don't need that. So that's our message.
Python 3 if you need it. It's still doing it.
Yeah, but it is.
You'll say Python 3.
I know. It didn't install TweetNet or
Oh,
Libnac
yeah,
in
it
it,
did
but
install
whatever.
Python 3, you're right.
Okay. So now I need to, what is it, ORD? Okay, so that's our message in terms of bytes, right? Unsigned bytes, I'm guessing. So what's the range on that? How many numbers are in a byte?
256.
Right.
Over the byte.
So that makes sense, right? And these are all ASCII characters. So they're going to be between whatever and whatever A and Z are.
Oh, that's.
And there's a space there, that's that 32.
That's number.
Yeah.
You can make them in hex if you want. There's a function for that in Python.
Okay, this is why we imported OS. We want to create a key.
So using random, I realize that's not truly random, right?
Well, I would argue that
It's as close to random as you're going to probably get.
I would argue that truly random phenomena are quantum in nature.
And
That,
impossible in a computer. I wasn't
so like
arguing that.
macroscopic
That
random
comment
data
was
is
fantastic.
macroscopic random data
I would
is.
argue that you could shove your random up here.
Well, what I'm saying is if you're getting random data from macroscopic phenomena, it's
Well,
more,
I was just going to point out that
it's going to be
there's-
mostly chaos.
the
and
entropy
not-
component gives you better randomization, but it isn't perfect. And that wasn't
Well, I want to know which one of you is Leonard and which one is Sheldon.
I don't care which CD sits in. That helps.
Okay, so there's our key, some random bytes. Okay, what do we do now? I guess that's no, this is we already looked at. Let's look at these.
You don't have a thing called message.
It is.
Oh, where?
What did I do?
Oh, at the very top. Okay.
String cannot.
That can be interpreted as an index. Oh, you have to do.
Oh, it
something
needs to
with
be an
message.
integer. Okay, so there's our message in binary, right? And the reason I'm doing this will be hopefully apparent in a second. Let's do the same thing to the key. So I'm doing a really stupid encryption scheme here. The key has to be the same length as the message. It'll become apparent in a second. So there's our key, and there's our key and our message. And the encryption scheme is we're going to exclusively OR them. Okay. So take each character in each message and turn it into an integer. And that's our encoded message. You can even look at it like this. Is that intelligible to anyone? That's encryption. Okay. Now, Alice told Bob what the key was somehow. She's going to decrypt the message now, or he's going to decrypt it. But, oh, what did I do wrong this time? I always want a string. Oh, yeah. Python 2. Right.
You want to ask us to argue another 2 subtract, which is better.
Word, not character.
Okay. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Right.
That should be the original message.
Okay, so probably should be the same, right?
Yeah.
115 and 114.
So here's our original one here. 115 ends in 101. And then we've got it back. So this encryption scheme is you generate a random key and you save that and then you send that to your the other person and they exclusively OR it. This is a really bad encryption scheme. Hopefully for obvious reasons. And finally, let's display the message. Right. And then
You need to OR it again. The order, yeah, I think you need to OR it there.
one of these has to be in ORed on the key.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You're right.
Why don't you just start
There you go.
Python 3?
You're right.
suggested
I
it,
should have
he
done
he
that.
didn't install the libraries.
Oh, okay.
So does anyone have any questions on that? That's like encrypting and decrypting.
And writing in Python 2 isn't actually that hard. It's just he has to
Yeah.
adjust.
Oh, yeah, that's what I do at work.
Yeah.
So.
Me too.
So we created a message, and then we created a key that had the same length, and then we created an encrypted message that was the exclusive OR. And the nice thing about exclusive OR for demonstration purposes is you do it again and you get back the message, as we saw.
This is so Route 13. what it's like, right? Roll your eyes at me.
Okay,
I mean, it's more complex than rough.
so now,
It is actually.
Sure. Not 13, it's probably like 16 years.
I mean, actually.
Oh, okay. I won't argue with you. I have no idea.
okay, as promised, we're going to talk briefly about some Python-based elliptic curve crypto libs. And these are all based on this library created by some very enigmatic people who wrote this library called NaCl. They say that you're supposed to pronounce it salt. But around here we call that NaCl for
Because otherwise it would be very
ambiguous.
confusing.
Right. So, yes, these people are very sort of insular. You get involved in this world of cryptography and it just sort of draws you in.
You don't do that much.
Right. Well, for example, their build script is a shell script. It's a born shell script that's called do, and it outputs nothing. And half an hour later, the library is built. So it's kind of
That seems absurd. Definitely, I agree.
yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, Dan Bernstein's.
Oh, Dan Bernstein's hilarious.
He's a genius, but a jerk.
That's how all geniuses are. I mean, look at this, man.
Can you imagine like dealing with normal people if you're a genius? How annoying would that be?
You should go to Mensa more. You should go to Mensa more often.
Well, thankfully, we're all geniuses in here. So right. Okay.
Or future geniuses.
Right.
We're striving towards it.
All right. So this is libsodium, libnacle. I always get those confused. Libnacle. There it is.
Right there.
Right.
Yay.
Your IQ drops an order of magnitude when you're talking out loud. At least that's what happens to me. Okay. So here's another example. Let's run through this. That's fine. I'm going to do the same sort of thing. So that's a really nice looking namespace. When I show you the tweet NACL source, you're going to agree with me in which that I hadn't showed it to you. So we got a message. What the heck? Copy this. So,
Are you behind the horse? No. Are you behind the knife? Yes.
right, so we're going to create a secret key for Bob. And it's some object of some kind. I ran out of time like before the presentation around this point.
Well, if you showed it to us, it wouldn't be a secret.
Right. So there it is. There's some stuff in there. Tom can tell you about it.
Yeah, hex PK is your secret key.
Okay, let's look at that. Well, it's some object of some kind.
Call it.
All right.
There you go.
Is it idempotent?
Yes, it's item.
It's just numbers.
Okay,
Letters.
we have Alice and Bob. Now let's encrypt the message with Bob's private key.
Make box. Make boxes. 2 boxes?
Right above
Wait,
where
you just get
Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
whatever you don't need them, it's unimportant.
Sorry. Okay, Okay,
Another twice.
white, I'm doing. So creating the secret boxes, which is libnacl's hilariously bad about putting stuff in a box.
Okay, that's
Something
different.
like that.
Michael calls them the original implementation, that's not exactly defined.
Good to know.
Right. So we have the public boxes. You need obviously, you need, for Bob, he needs to know what his secret key is. He needs to know what Alice's public key is, right?
Mhm.
I mean, that makes sense.
And balance the opposite.
Right, because each person encrypts with the other's public key and decrypts with their own private key. With signing, it's a little more complex than that.
The nice thing about the Woodsodian library is that the signing is actually happening in there as a property of the cryptography. So that is an encrypted and signed message.
But it uses the traditional signing methodology, right?
No, it's signed by virtue of the fact that you need both of them. You need the two keys to actually perform the encryption and the decryption.
Okay. Right.
So
Well,
it's all about finding the point of the elliptic curve, which is relative to the
Right.
definition of the keys.
yeah. Well,
Which is
according to my shallow understanding of traditional signing, that's similar, I guess. Okay. So we use Bob's box to encrypt the message, and then we use Alice's box to decrypt it.
If you type declare. Exactly the same as we got originally.
Yes.
So you should put all of C text. That's the encrypted message that you use then to decrypt.
Right. So we start out with a message. We instantiated some objects. We created the boxes. And then the boxes do all of the low-level encrypting stuff without you having to know how or why. Encrypted it with Bob's box, and then decrypted it with Alice's box.
Seems really easy.
Yeah, that was. I'm
This
glad
is
you
just
said
an
that.
API that he's coding.
I'm glad you said that
That's part.
because I was hoping that would be.
Imagine what the secret key function looks like. I can't imagine. Like,
Actually,
it's simple.
was the next thing we're going
Oh,
to sort of
cool.
briefly go over.
I like asking questions. Actually.
Okay, so this is the last thing we're going to look at.
I was actually curious because I was actually wondering how secret keys are generated in this scenario because we just talked about URandom a minute ago, and I imagine that it's using that in some form.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed it
secret
is.
keys are just it was just randomly to assume.
Which
Okay.
is still legitimate and good enough. Doesn't mean yeah.
So this is the library that I worked on at the behest of Tom. Just putting on the second coat now.
Don't comment, Biff.
So there's okay, so this is all based on this NaCl library. Let's look it up really quick. This one. Then they were like, that's not good enough. We can be even cooler than that. And they took they distilled the contents of the library into this thing called tweetnacle, which means you can fit the entire source code in 100 tweets.
Because that's apparently
In 100 tweets?
Yes.
So it's less than 14,000
Yes.
characters.
Yeah, the whole
So,
point is
right?
that the entire Michael library does technically fit into 100 tweets.
So now that tweets
Well,
are
now that tweets are really, really long, it
it's
doesn't matter.
Wait, they are on that?
Yeah, that was what, like 2 months ago, maybe? A month ago?
a month.
Yeah, it wasn't very long ago.
Oh, I guess I'll think.
And when Jack became CEO again, boom, no more limits.
So this is
Made
this.
it better, now it's in one tweet.
This is the source code of TweetNackle. It's highly. I massaged it a little bit, so it's less painful on your eyes. This is where randomness comes in right here. They conveniently left it undefined, so I just used random. I hope that's good enough for Clint.
Is this like the drink or drive thing?
These are some fixed points they define. I don't drink or drive.
I'm a joke. It's been forever.
Remind me to have a word with you later about them, your variable name.
This is
TweetNackle.
yeah. These variables are awful. I'm gonna shut up this vision.
Single character variable instead of words.
I'm gonna shut away that vision so that
That
you don't
wasn't
get
his
too.
fault. Is what we're saying.
I shut that vision.
How it's gonna fit in 100 tweets.
I agree with that. You,
Right.
yeah, with 140 character limit,
40 tweets just for variable names.
you could.
So I shut that vision away so you won't get too frightened. We're gonna look at the Python version. This is my thing. So so it took me a really long time to figure out this first part, which is trying to force Python to imitate C's strict typing, or C's notion of typing, which, well,
Or would you want to write in Python? Wouldn't it be just simpler to?
so the motivation for rewriting in Python, that's a very good question, is in particular for salt. If we want to install salt in a hostile environment where we can't do advanced dependency resolution, we don't have access to the general internet. If Python's in there, we can run salt. And so this is the last piece of that puzzle. So in an extreme case, we can use this, and we have encryption, or the entire dependency stack is Python,
And
which is pretty
I
nice.
assume that this is the thing that is replacing into crypto and making it so you can move to Python 3, right?
No, we got rid of MT crypto by,
Well, I know there was like a way around it, but I thought this was going to be new awesomeness.
yeah, no, we've got support for libnacl cryptography in Salt now, although it hasn't been applied on transcripts yet. And yeah, by default, we use libsodium.
Oh, okay, that's what you wrote. Okay.
Yeah,
Libsodium is, we didn't write libsodium.
libsodium
No,
is
you
a
wrote
C,
to it, sorry.
Right. Libnacl is written as a binding to libsodium.
right? And there's, yeah, so Tom was talking about this, libnacl. There's also Pineapple.
That seems like pineapple.
Yeah,
I think they should have their logo be a pineapple.
so they do sort of the same thing. They abstract the low-level
Salted pineapple.
API. But in my library, I didn't dilute the truth. Anyway, it's just the raw stuff. But in order to do that, man, I really had to slog through this stuff here. So first, I define this integer class int, and then I do some fakery like this, saying whether it's signed or not. The bit mask.
You limit it to the size of it.
Yeah, and so most of the magic happens in this new function. The interesting thing I learned doing this is that since, at least in C Python, the integer class type, whatever, is defined in C. I'm guessing that's the reason I didn't look into it. But you cannot overload new on int. So I got around it by you can't overload in it. Yeah. So I got around it by overloading new, and that actually worked out pretty well. So, and then this promote thing here. So U8 is these type names are defined in TweetNackle here. constant character. So unsigned long, long, and then
What version of C did he write?
I don't know, something awful probably.
Those have now been standardized in later versions of C.
Yeah,
That they wouldn't have needed to write their own.
what I wanted to do was mirror this. I wanted to mirror this in Python exactly, and I'll talk about that more in a second. Okay, so promoting, so to figure out type promotion, and that's what this function does. It looks at whether it's a negative number, or if the result is negative, and if it's signed, then I had to consult this. I looked at the C99 standard, and I'm pretty sure this conforms to that. And then these are the functions that generate the operators. So there's a unary typed kind of operator, there's a typed operator, and then the shift operators have to be defined their own way, and also the invert. So if it's signed, you have to do something different than if it's not.
So you're basically replicating a lot of what C does.
Right. And here's where we define the operators. So there's bitwise operators, arithmetic operators.
Like how the equal signs line up, but then the three that are indented do not. So that they make the not component. That's really cool.
Yeah, I imagine that's going to really annoy some people.
I think it'd be
But
awesome.
I thought it looked cool.
Yeah, you think it's awesome because it's I find it annoying.
Do you really?
No.
Okay, so now that we have that, we can actually define these types that we had in the other library. Unsigned character U8 is defined here. So there's this Python thing called an array, which is there's surprisingly a lot of Python constructs that do similar things. There's array, maybe I'll write these out. Array, memory, U. There's byte array. There's bytes. Anyway, they all do sort of similar things, and it's kind of frustrating that there's that. But I ended up not really using any of them except for these predefined stuff in array. So what I'm doing here is I'm going through Python's array to grab the word sizes that the platform is sending up. I didn't want to just assume 32 and 64, whatever.
That's probably a good idea. Anyway.
Yeah.
Because you guys using this library on anything, you probably would require the operating system or the actual CPU.
Right. Well, hopefully, you would hope that this tweet knuckle is written in a way that it's platform independent, and it's kind of scary because it does a freaking ton of bit shifting, and I was really scared about that, so I did tons of unit testing. So this last thing is I defined this integer array object, which actually worked out pretty nice. Hopefully the logic is pretty much straightforward. You can give it initial values. You can give some initial values and a size. So for an example, you can be impressed with my skill in the elegance of my transcription by comparing these two blocks of code.
Copied and pasted essentially.
Yeah. So here's the C version. Here's the Python version. Nice. Where is that? Okay. Then it just sort of gets into the low level functions. Yeah. So here's where we get U random. That's where the entropy comes in.
You mean the lack thereof?
Yeah. Whatever. Okay. It's chaos. It's mostly chaos.
This is fun.
Yeah, so
most
of these functions are bit operations. And Tom tells me that's because the DJB team had to work around some patents and whatever, bitwise stuff can be fine.
For elliptic curve cryptography, the numbers involved in elliptic curve cryptography.
How does someone patent that?
You file a patent at the patent office?
Patent office.
They send it to the patent office, and the guy at patent clerks wear blindfolds and they stamp it.
Usually it's a yes in front of them. Sometimes it's a no, but that's very rare.
And if they just stamp it no, you just send it back and cross your fingers. I mean, that's really how it works.
That's why we have millions and millions of patent numbers.
And it's like, ah, crap, they stamped it no, my lawyer has to send it back.
I gotta pay him double this time.
So,
Good thing I made millions on that last patent.
surprisingly, this function only occurs 2 places. Sure, it works out somewhere or other. There's a heck of a lot of bit fiddling, and I don't have my awesome Vim set up, so I can't jump through tags. But anyway, if you read through this, you can see like there's a scalar mold function.
There's 12 of you who are paying attention to what I was scared about 2 days ago.
Yeah, so scalar multiplication is sort of like where the magic happens in a way. I'm sure there's more magic. But this is the part I understand anyway.
So how does the speed compare between C and Python?
So I have unit tests that runs the C version through C types. How do you open the tab?
Control Shift T.
But then I'm wondering, is there any difference
Well, that's
between
the
Python
shell.
and Python?
Oh, just colon tab new. You mean?
Yeah.
7
So I
life support.
wrote this unit test framework, and I sort of went overboard with some theoretical things. But
It's encryption. You cannot go overboard with theoretical works.
yeah. So okay. So here are the unit tests. Well, these are the bit tests. Make sure that these were written to make sure that the bitwise operations were the same between C and Python. Let's skip to the next one. These are the tests of the functions. So this one calls into the tweetNackle library. I actually compile that tweetnackle.c file, and then I access the functions through C types. And then I have an abstraction library here. And then I do the same thing with Python and then just compare them the same way you normally would with unit tests. And that's pretty much it. So to get back to the question, David's question, most of the code in Python is not that much slower than the C code. And I don't know how valuable that is because it is being run through C types, which is notoriously slow from what I understand. But I mean, I've literally, the second code is just like drying right now. So I haven't even done like extensive integration tests or performance tests yet. But anyway, I don't know if that was interesting or not, but
I'd be interested to see if there's a difference between Python 2 and Python 3.
there's not. It works in either one.
No. Speed.
Oh, speed-wise? Yeah, I did test some things, and there's some differences, but I don't think it changed the big O necessarily. Maybe it was a scalar factor less, not quite a full number, but you might find some
orders of magnitude difference, really.
Right. But there could be something I just haven't looked at yet.
Well, in terms of performance, I don't know that makes that big of a difference. Plus, if you really wanted to, you could compile it down.
You can run this through PyPy and
Yeah.
see what happens, which I haven't even done yet.
I'm gonna do that too, I guess.
Yeah, so that's basically my presentation. Thanks for coming. Yeah, you can go ahead now.
Does anybody else have any questions for Justin? Okay. I'm just gonna kill the presentation really quick.